let's get down to our discussion about cars. Hello everybody! So, today we are going to talk about the Opel Diplomat. First, I want to ask you all a question. You all know Opel. Of course you do. You guys know the Opel Corsa, the Opel Astra. Yeah, of course you do. Why am I even asking these questions? But do you guys know the Opel Diplomat? Oh, you don't? You don't? What? Seriously, jokes aside. You know, if you guys didn't know the Opel Diplomat existed, actually, it's not your fault. It's nobody's fault. It's simply because nobody spoke about that car. It's a car that was built by Opel in the 1960s and the 1970s. So you had the first generation Diplomat A, then you had the second generation Diplomat B. Frankly speaking, guys, I'm gonna first tell you guys my story about the Opel Diplomat. I personally had no clue this car ever existed. I had no idea. I also knew they had historically the Manta, which had significant fame actually. Like, everyone was talking about it whenever they talk of classic Opels, but for some reason nobody talks about the Diplomat. One day, I was just casually scrolling through classic Opels on the internet, and then I stumbled across a really nice looking grille. I initially thought it was some rebadged Chevrolet. I thought it was something American. I was thinking it was some Chevrolet or such. But then I realized upon closer inspection, it was actually an Opel Diplomat, guys. It was the Diplomat B. That was the photo of the car I saw. Like, that was the photo I saw. A Diplomat B. Oh my goodness, it looked beautiful. The thing that keeps me surprised is why on earth has nobody brought this topic up? Like, so far nobody's mentioned anything about this car. Like, I don't see any much information about it, in the sense this car didn't really seem to achieve that much fame compared to other cars of its era. That coincides with the time when Citroën rose to fame, so I guess that's pretty much one reason why nobody spoke much of it. Because that time Citroën had the DS and Mercedes also had the S-Class. And in that segment, Opel had the Diplomat, which it had mixed views, I can only assume. As you all know, for a very, very long time, Opel has been suffering from one thing: identity issues. It's not very clear what exactly they were specializing at. For example, and so this leaves us to question, what exactly does Opel have? Now, about the Diplomat. I think the speciality behind the Diplomat was it had one identity I personally can see, and that's just my opinion, guys. It's the only European manufacturer that has taken a lot from its American siblings, if you know what I mean. General Motors had complete ownership of Opel, that we know. However, this also meant part sourcing and everything, so whatever car Opel was doing, they pretty much had to share it with General Motors, and whatever car General Motors was doing, so we're talking about Chevrolet, GMC, Cadillac, they sort of shared their technology and intelligence with Opel. And you know what Opel did? Opel came up with a nice, beautiful car called the Diplomat. So the first generation was the Diplomat A. It was from 1964 till 1968. Okay, Okay, jokes aside. No, but like, seriously. And what I know about it is that it looks very... Well, the Diplomat A looked nice. Looks very... It looks very... the front reminds me of a Chrysler. It reminds me of something Chrysler Europe did. The Diplomat A doesn't interest me that much, but the one that interests me is the Diplomat B. The Diplomat B looks beautiful. I love the Diplomat B. I love the front. You know, it was actually the front of the Diplomat B that I saw a photo of it, and that was the one that really caused me to do more research. I was like, what? That's an Opel? And then I found out it's actually a Diplomat B, but unfortunately not many people are talking about it. However, for some reason, the Diplomat B does have a lot of fame amongst drifters or the tuning community. Modify them to the fullest, you know, with all those rims, alloys, and everything. And I'm like, yeah, that's just the same thing a Chevrolet fanboy does. And a Pontiac fanboy. Now, what I think of the Diplomat in general, the A and the B, is that it appears to be like a European version of the Americans, sort of. You know, like mainly the things which Chevrolet did and Pontiac did. Mainly one of those two, because if you look at the sharp edges and everything, and the way it's designed and everything, and the engine power they offered, that is something Mercedes and BMW never offered back then. And neither did Citroën for sure. Because there's one thing to know about Americans, is that they were known for doing big engines. So we're talking a 5.4 V8, which is the largest engine this Diplomat could be equipped with. And something not many Europeans were very good at doing. Mercedes came up with a large engine, but that was later, you know, afterwards, when they felt that, oh God, we have to join the competition, folks. It was gorgeous, guys. I mean, come on. You know, I don't even know who designed it. Like, nobody's talking about it for some reason. The only people who talk about it are German forums, but you see, I can only understand half the things they say, or even less than that. And even if I understand the things they say, there's not many, like, nobody's really elaborating much about it. Like, you know, there's no prominent owner. There was no, you know, when I say prominent owner, I'm talking about a politician, a singer, or an actor, or somebody, you know? Like, for example, Citroën and Mercedes, they were renowned for making cars that were driven by politicians, singers, or things like that. Their cars were owned by pretty much everybody. And so, same for, like, you know, I'm sure General Motors had something that everybody would drive. And Opel, the Diplomat, like, wow, did nobody, like, I'm surprised nobody's speaking about it. Okay, can I be really honest? The people who buy the Opel Diplomat, okay, are the kind of people who would buy an American car, like a Chevrolet or a Pontiac, with a huge engine inside. They wouldn't buy this car for the status. That's like what I can see from the design already, you know? Because, you see, for some reason, nobody takes pride in it. Nobody's taking, you know, nobody bought it for status, it seems. So it seems like it was bought mainly for the performance or for the muscular engine, you know? Something common with all American cars of those days. Not only General Motors, I'm talking about Dodge, Ford, you know, the Mustangs. Well, the Mustang was actually climbing up in fame that time, but it was mainly Dodge and General Motors that was like, I don't know, all hot on performance. So you want my conclusion about the Opel Diplomats, the A and the B. My conclusion about the Opel Diplomat in general as a model is that it was... You see, I don't know what to say, guys. I really don't know what to say, because you see, I tried everywhere. I tried looking everywhere for information, as much information as possible, and not many people are saying much about it. This leads me to believe that this car was not something bought for the status, but maybe it was bought for the aesthetics. So maybe it was indeed a flagship Opel model. So people bought it for the, woohoo, that, yay, look everyone, I got a fully loaded Opel, and it's actually a Chevrolet under the skin. And everybody was like, yay, look, he got an Opel with a V8 engine, whoopee. Yeah. I just wonder how much money that guy spends on fuel. Worth mentioning that they weren't only offered with a 5.4 V8 engines, they also had smaller engines in them. You want my personal opinion of the Opel Diplomat? My opinion is that I really like it. I personally like the car, and I respect the Opel Diplomat for what it is. It's kind of like Opel showing to the table that, look, Europeans, I have something American, and here's what I have. And the Europeans are like, wow, okay. So it looks like a combination of American and European cars, and look at what Opel has done. An American car plus something German equals to an Opel Diplomat. That's what I'm sure Europeans must have felt that time. You know what I mean? Guys, if you wanted something American that time and you felt it was too expensive or something, that would have been probably one of the reasons why people have bought the Opel Diplomat. Otherwise, just buy a real Chevrolet. Just buy a Chevrolet or some Pontiac of the 70s or the 60s. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And stay tuned for more videos that are on the run.